Hey, what's up, guys? It's Reed Young, aka Shuda, for TransformPoker.com. I'm going to be bringing you guys a 50-cent $1 six max hand review where we have 4-6 of blue and the cutoff. And yeah, let's hop into the action here. So we come in for a pre-flop raise, which I think is good. It's something that's not going to work against every opponent type after you. So if you're getting re-raised more often than people's fair share, more often than what's balanced or what's optimal, then you might want to adjust your opening range. And I would say that probably means taking out a few of the weaker hands like 4-6 suited, and then adding a few other things in there. But that's something for a different video. What we want to talk about now is how to play this hand best now that we've flopped awesomely and we flopped a flush. So let's check it out. I think the flop and the turn you guys will find fairly standard. We just bet 2/3 pot, 2/3 pot. On the river, we have our first decision that I want to kind of go through all of our options here. So first off, you guys might notice that we still have a freaking sweet hand relative to our opponent's range. Even if he's check calling us with pretty much the top of his range, which would be roughly like ace-7-ish, like pocket eights on average, our hand just completely annihilates that. So if he has something like 9-7 of hearts, king queen maybe with the king of diamonds, something like that he was trying to check call down with, and I pick off a hand from us like 10-8 on the river, jack 10 maybe. There's a lot of great things that can happen if we bet the river for value here. So the first decision we need to figure out is, should we bet around 2/3 pot, around a pot size bet, or is this a really good spot for an over bet? And I think there's definitely very good arguments for both. So it really just depends how widely we're going to be betting the turn as a semi-bluff, and then how often those hands get to the river unimproved. So like I mentioned already, we have potentially 10-8 suiteds, jack 10 maybe with a diamond most of the time, and then overcard hands with a diamond, or perhaps even complete air, where we think that our opponent's going to be check calling the flop and turn very often, and with a very weak made hand, something worse than a pair of nines most of the time, that we can blow him off of that hand on the river with an overbet. And so that means that we need to be value betting these hands with an overbet as well. And once we go through all of our value hands in our range, say maybe even like pocket twos or better, then we can figure out how many bluffs balance with that. So once we're giving our opponent a certain amount of pot odds to call, we need to figure out what ratio is best for bluffing and then what ratio is best for value betting. But the high level idea is that if we're over betting here as a bluff, you definitely want to be doing it for value as well, unless you're playing against an opponent who isn't perceptive enough to pick up on the on you not being balanced. So in other words, you might do better off only betting for value for something like 2/3 pot with your flushes, or pocket twos and better like we said, and then overbetting as a bluff. I know a lot of good players who play that way. At the higher stakes, people are going to start picking you off more often, but at these types of games, I would not be surprised if that was the very best default strategy to use. So just because balance is a great thing, and you guys know that I like to talk about balance a lot, that doesn't mean it's necessarily best for the opponent you're facing. And I think a lot of people confuse that, and it's a topic that I feel like a lot of people ask me about. So let's talk about that a little bit. Balance does not equal, or optimal play does not equal, maximally exploitive play. So that means the actual play that works against villain number 5 in this hand, that gives us the most value possible, might actually be an exploitable strategy, or very likely is an exploitable strategy. So I would advocate betting around 2/3 pot here, just in order to entice a bluff catching hand to call, and then overbetting as a bluff in general at the $100 buy-in limit. I think that's probably going to be your best bet, but I probably err on the side of caution as far as that goes without reads on my opponent. If I know he's a fishier player or a looser passive player or more showdown oriented, I might adjust my strategy. So it just depends what game you're playing in as to what bet size is going to work best. Here we actually go with a 2/3 pot bet, which I think is fine. I mean, you can probably eke out a little bit more value. And actually, a nice thing about betting larger here, if we bet something like 32 instead of 23, is that when we get called, obviously we make about $9 more or $8.30 more. But you also polarize your range as far as it appears to your opponent. So it seems less likely that we would be betting a hand like 6-7 for value if we go ahead and bet 32. So if he does have a hand like pocket sixes with a diamond, for instance, then it's still a bluff catcher with about the same value as and like pocket twos even, because it looks like we just have pocket twos or better. So when we can make our opponent think that his very weak hands have the same value as a lot of his strongest hands, then we might actually end up getting called more often. And while we get called more often, that helps us make more money on average. We also have a bigger bet, and that helps us make more money on average. So betting larger, I think, is clearly the best play here, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an overbet, but that's something you guys might want to toy with. Then, once we've decided that we're going to bet this way, when our opponent raises all in, you guys can't see it right now. It's behind this green chip here. So we'll definitely get that fixed for you by the time we release this theme for you guys to download. That's a little bug we'll have to work on. But by the time this guy goes all in for about $80 over the top of our $24 raise, I would advocate calling here. Although it's possibly optimistic at the $100 buy-in level, just because this is never going to be a bluff, or extremely rarely. I mean, he would have to have a hand like ace-8 with the ace of diamonds or something to that effect that he would be now turning into a bluff instead of like a slow-played nut flush or king or queen high flush. Basically put, his value range beats our hand. So it's definitely a bluff catching situation. And if he's not bluffing there, I think we're in trouble, and the best play is to fold. So our hero actually ends up folding, and the villain in the hand takes it down. So let me know what you guys think about this video. If you do like it, consider hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel. It's free poker strategy for you guys to improve your game before our training site releases. So definitely I would recommend taking advantage of that, because it's only going to help you make more money. Alright guys, I will see you in the comment section. I'm looking forward to the discussion because I think this is a cool hand. And I will catch you guys later. Bye.